it's one of these things where like, I actually don't think it's a company specific thing. I think it's an individual specific thing. So some people like really don't mind it at all. They actually enjoy it. They want the freedom. They, you know, they want kind of all these things. And other people are like, I absolutely hate working remotely. Like I want to go do, you know, go into an office. I want to be around people. I want to like, you know, sit at a conference room table, like all that kind of stuff. And so to me, it's like less about like, is the company going to be successful or not? Or can they be successful? Like, again, yes, of course they can be,
Right.
but it's just like, who are the people, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think two things. I think people are missing the big story about this remote stuff. So most people are thinking about, at least the people I see kind of on Twitter and whatnot, is like, oh, how is my job going to work? Am I going to be remote? Am I going to go into these like little co-working pods? Is our office going to open back up? And they think like that's the extent of the change that's happening. But what's actually happening is actually in some ways much more scary for that person, which is I live in Silicon Valley, right? People here are divas. They're like, you know, making a ton of money and unsatisfied the whole time, and like expenses are really high and all this stuff. And what's going to happen is when you're remote, you don't have to pay Silicon Valley prices for talent anymore. So it's not going to be the problem you're going to have isn't, do I prefer working out of my kitchen, or do I want to come in 3 days a week or 2 days a week or 5 days a week to the office? It's going to be, holy shit, they just found somebody in Canada that's going to work for a third of my price. And so most people are going to, you know, when the talent pool opens up to global, because the default work system is remote, either remote only or remote friendly, then people who are, you know, you really have to be a 10Xer to get paid like a 10Xer. And most people think they're a 10Xer because they're getting paid like it today, but that's just because they happen to be, you know, an engineer, designer, or PM that lives in, you know, the Bay Area or New York. And that's why you're getting paid these like, you know, high wages. But if you're sitting on Zoom and so is some guy in Pittsburgh or Czechoslovakia, you're not going to be making, you know, $500,000 a year anymore because I don't have to pay that anymore. I'm getting the same output or better for somebody, you know, a faceless, you know, output person. Just think about it like they're just going to measure output per Zoom endpoint, and you know, that's going to you know, they're going to pay 80 grand for it or 100 grand for it. So I think companies are the ones who win big in the end with this, and not so much the individual employee.
Well, it's companies, and then it's also people who are potential employees but don't currently work at the company, right? So if you are,
exactly,
you know, anywhere internationally, for sure, a huge win. And then even here in the United States, if you're in the Midwest and in certain areas right now, all of a sudden you've got much more opportunity, and
right.
you probably actually get paid a premium on what you would get paid locally. Which is still a significant decrease in cost for the company that was
Exactly. It's a win-win, right? Company gets it at half the price and I get double my local wage. So they're happy. And so there's that phrase like talent is universal, but opportunity is not, or something like that. That's what's going to happen. The talent that is already universally distributed is now going to receive a larger share of opportunity to earn and prove themselves than is happening today. Same thing's going to happen on the funding side where, cool, if I'm doing all my funding over Zoom anyways, then I don't just fund Bay Area companies. I'm going to fund companies everywhere. So more people get opportunity.
Do you think that there ends up being these like pods or remote workspaces?
Probably, but I don't think it's that big of a thing. So like, maybe I'm just skewed because I like just being on my own. In fact, I just consider myself like a solopreneur now. I don't want any employees. I just want to build my own business and run it with just me and maybe one sidekick, you know, who I talk to online. But yeah, I think people will have co-working spaces because not everybody's house is like kind of suited for it, and companies will need to make concessions and say, cool, you can go get this space. Kind of, you know, we have spaces in every city center that you can go work at, and it's co-working like WeWork or Regus or whatever. But I don't think it's like what I saw the question on Twitter, who's like, are groups of kind of friends from different companies going to like form their own little co-office? It's like, yeah, well, like in the sitcom Friends, that will happen where like, you know, they meet at the Perk every day at 3 p.m. and like, you know, they live in New York in these like, that's not real. Like that's a show, that's a TV show, and that's not real. And so, you know, just think logically, most people are not going to like set up this like very perfect scenario where my best friends from different companies get together and we pal up in a co-working space. I don't think so.
So the other thing that I think is definitely going to happen is people are going to start building homes with 2 offices, right? So like in suburbia somewhere,
Yep.
It's going to be like, hey, you know, 3 bedroom, 3 bath, 2 office,
right?
Right. And they're not going to just be like, you know, when I was growing up, you would go to like a friend's house and they would basically call it like a home office, but it's more of like a den. So kind of
Right.
have like, glass little doors or whatever.
Right.
And you're just like, wait a second, like that's not going to be what this is. I'm talking about a full on office, like may even be hooked up with some sort of audio video capabilities,
Right.
and actually serve, maybe even be soundproof to some degree. Like you can just start to see, and it's going to be promoted that way.
Yes. I would add to that also, I think multifamily real estate is going to look very different. So, today where you have these lobbies where people play shuffleboard and there's like a, whatever, like a movie room or some amenity, like they're going to just build co-working spaces into every multi-condo apartment rental place, because you're going to have all these people, they're going to be in small apartments that two people trying to work from home. And so a good differentiator will be to take 1 or 2 floors of your building and just build out WeWork inside. And I know some places already do this, but that will become very much the norm, just like the way you're talking about the officing. Like I'm selling my condo right now in SF. We took our second bedroom and we staged it as an office, not as a bedroom. And like that would have been crazy, 3 years ago, but now it's like made sense. People want a big, spacious office with a good door and good light, more than they wanted a bedroom.
You want to know my wildest idea when it comes to the remote work and housing?
Hit me.
So malls absolutely getting decimated. I think that somebody should go, and you'd have to have a lot of capital. You have to be super ambitious and kind of do all the right things. But if you think of how the mall is basically set up, is at the ends and kind of in the middle, there's always the department stores.
Right.
So you go in, you buy mall with huge acreage, whatever. You turn the department stores into essentially just apartments. Right. And then all of the interconnectedness of the mall, which used to be retail stores, you basically build like a little village. And so
Right.
you take like the quote unquote New York experience or like the San Francisco experience, and you pack it into like a mall environment. And then you use the outsides. You can either have some parking, or you can actually build like walking paths and all kinds of crazy stuff. And what you're doing is you're almost giving like the urban type experience or like a college dorm type experience. But I think that in the right city, done correctly, would be like incredibly attractive to people who all want to work remotely. And also then you get kind of this balance between work life and outdoor experience, indoor experience, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, totally. And if somebody resonates with that, now's the time, because now you'll get a $70 million property, for $22 million right now. If you go try to buy up these malls that are dying and all their stores are dying and all that, it's either that or they become, Amazon distribution warehouses. Like it's going to be one of the two. Like it's going to be an endpoint for e-commerce, or it's going to be co-working with froyo shops in between.